In this video, I'll be demoing WarpStream Schema Linking, a tool to continuously migrate any Confluent-compatible schema registry into a WarpStream BYOC schema registry. Let's go straight into the demo. Before we start migrating schemas, we first need a source schema registry. Right now on my laptop, I have a Confluent schema registry running in a Docker container. As we can see, the HTTP server runs on port 8087. Right now the Confluent schema registry is empty, so let's register a couple of schemas. First, we register a string schema under the subject foo. We also register an int schema under the subject bar. Next, we create a WarpStream BYOC schema registry. For the demo, I'm going to use the WarpStream playground command. This will create a temporary WarpStream account. It will also create a schema registry cluster and deploy a schema registry agent running locally. We can see here that it started a schema registry agent and that there is a schema registry HTTP server running on port 9094. It also generates a link to the console. So let's head over there. If we navigate to the schema registries page, we can see the schema registry cluster it created for us. We can also see that there is a schema registry agent running locally. Now we can finally start migrating schemas. To use WarpStream Schema Linking, head over to the Schema Linking page. WarpStream Schema Linking is controlled by a single YAML config. You can edit it using WarpStream console, or you can also manage the config using Terraform or the pipelines API. The config is pretty simple. You just have to specify how the agent can reach the source schema registry. Since my source schema registry is running locally on port 8087, I'm going to modify the hostname to localhost and set the port to 8087. I'm also going to set sync every seconds to 300, which means that after every successful sync, the pipeline waits for 300 seconds before kicking off the next sync. This allows you to control how frequently you want to keep the source and destination schema registries in sync. Let's deploy the config. After the config is deployed, you have to change the pipeline state from paused to running. After a few seconds, we can see that a sync has been started. WarpStream console will show you some statistics, such as the number of source subjects and source subject versions were found. If we navigate to the schema context page, we can see that the default schema context mode has been set to import. This means that only the pipeline can make modifications to the destination schema registry, which means that you're not allowed to write into the BYOC schema registry just yet. Now we can see that the sync has been completed, and that in total, it was able to find 2 source subjects, which is foo and bar, as well as 2 subject versions. If we look at the subjects page, we can see that the bar and foo subjects have been migrated. We can also confirm that the schemas are properly migrated by making HTTP requests to the destination schema registry. We can reach this local schema registry agent using port 9094. So first, I'm going to check if the foo subject contains the right schema. And it does, it contains the string schema. Now let's confirm if bar contains the right schema. So we can see here that it contains the int schema as expected. Now, to showcase continuous migration, I'm going to make some modifications to the source schema registry. First, I'm going to set the compatibility rule of bar to backward transitive. Next, I'm going to register a new schema to the subject bar. I'm going to register a float schema. Now, we wait for the next sync to kick off and make sure that it was able to migrate the changes. Now we can see that roughly after 5 minutes since the last sync was completed, it kicked off the new sync. And so far, it found 3 source subject versions. And now the sync has been completed, and we can see that the number of newly migrated subject versions is 1, and that in total, there are 3 source subject versions. If we look at the subjects page, we can see that the compatibility rule of bar has been successfully changed to backward transitive, and that there are now 2 versions. To confirm that the schema for the newly migrated subject version is correct, let's query it. And we can see that It contains float as expected. Once you're done with syncing and you want to cut over the BYOC schema registry from import mode to read-write mode, you just have to modify the config and set a reversible switch to read-write mode to true. Let's deploy the latest config. After a few seconds, we can see that the pipeline has automatically paused and the schema contexts have been set to read-write. If we navigate to the schema context page, we can see that it is no longer in import mode. It is now in read-write mode, which means that you can now both read and write to your destination BYOC schema registry. And WarpStream schema linking is complete.